of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. I hope you guys are all having a fantabulous time of things. Yes, yes. Oh, happy Friday, or happy day ending in Y. Let's see. What do I got going on here? As the brain slowly catches up. Yes. So, being broadcast live tonight on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and also on YouTube World. Hi, YouTube. You guys can't see my hand. Huh. Sorry. Logging into T-Fire chat. Goodness. All right. So, and if you are listening in on YouTube, make sure you stop in and say hello in the chat room. Or, actually, no matter how you are listening, say hi in one of the chat rooms. Or you can send me an email at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. By the way, got a website. It's up and running. New stuff going on it every so often. And that is www. That's 3 W's. www. Yes, 3 W's. PaisleyWild.com. Nice, simple, to the point. I like it. You can also support my radio habit by sending your unsolicited donation. Yeah, that one. To the cash tag is $ the spaces between, if you so choose. And hold on. There we go. Or yeah, you can do that. And news of the weird. By the way, Patreon is going away, and so the Etsy is gonna kind of. Hey, Shadow Time Rider, you're new. And brain cramp. Yeah, just I only have so many brain cells to rub together, and apparently the friction isn't firing tonight. So yeah. And there's a why. Before I get to the why, the call lines are open. Numbers 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. And so yes, announcements. Close that, yes. Announcement. So, hey, guess what? I'm printed. I have a book. Yay! Congratulations, Julia. She is now an official CNA type. Ooh. It's a paranormal portal light. It likes to flicker. So congratulations, Julia. Hard work. Woo. Good job. Yes, I have a book. I am published. It is official. So for those of you looking for the book, it is currently on Amazon only, in Kindle or in print. And it is The Wild Pagan, A to Z. Real simple. So here I'm going to put it in the chat rooms. The Wild Pagan, A to Z. So I started off writing my book because of Mini-Me. I wanted something that I could use and hand to her to kind of a primer, if you will, a beginner book. So I started off with the kid idea, a kid thought process, and so start off with like A. A is actually for altar. and I like it. It's good. And so maybe tomorrow night I'll remember to I'll read it to y'all. My brain's just a little scrambled right now. But I wrote it and I illustrated it and I published it. So it's published under Monarch Mountain Studios. And it is a short one. It's really short. It's a booklet. It literally is A to Z. And yeah, some of the concepts are a little bigger. Like X is for xenophobia, which is the fear of the unknown. And instead of fearing the things you don't know, maybe you should learn something about it, basically. Because, yeah, you shouldn't be afraid of the things you don't understand or the unknown, honestly. And from here, because this was such an interesting adventure, I will probably do more little booklet things. Kind of a whole series kicking around in the back of the old brain cell. Julia is asking for a link. Yes. Let's see here. And NeSe, if you're listening in, just a moment, I will call you again because apparently I just malfunctioned. So, as I think out loud and try to do things on my phone and in my brain at the same time. So yes, for those of you who are listening and not in a chat room, so you don't see what I've written, it's The Wild Pagan, and it's WILDE for wild. Where is it? Oh, I had to do an edit, so it may not be showing up. Oh. Hey, if I could spell. Oh, yeah. Let's see, I want to share. How do I share? Share the link. I am sharing the link to myself so I can paste it into myself. And yeah, I can do this. Really, truly. I can do this. Apparently, I can't do a show. And, oh, thank you, NeSe. Yeah, if you want to just loiter for a moment. Yeah. Loiter, please. So I chatted myself to get the link for myself. Ah, there it is. So copy link address. That's not what I wanted. You know, I want... yeah, seriously, I'm trying to think and talk and type and... Yeah, no, really, truly can't brain. Nope. There's no brain. The brain is on strike. Yeah, I guess that's what I want to copy. Is that how I do this? I don't know. I don't normally share links like this. Because, oh, thanks, Julia. Look at her being all on top of things. Thank you. Julia, you're a rock star. So I want to copy this, close that because I don't need it. I need this. Ah! Is that really what I want? No. That's not really what I want. Wow. Yeah, you know, there. That's what I want. What does this X mean again? I don't know. Oh, for the love of little green apples. Anyways, so. I think I did it there. NeSe, I'm going to bring you on. Da, da, da. Hey, NeSe, you're on the air. Although you probably have me on hold now because I took so long. Anyways, when you come back, just... Oh.
Hello.
Yes, X means xenophobia. That's what X means for my book. How are you on this fantabulous, fantastic Friday?
Should we digress and go old school since we're going to talk a little bit about my ancestry?
Only if you really want to.
Sure, might as well. I always like sharing my people's language.
Okay.
Bourgeois Nin, NeSe Indigenicas, Anishinaablem, Minoa, Kevin Richard Shores, Indigenicas, Shaganashi Moog, Makwa Nindunde, Minoa Nindo Gitchida, Aki Minoa, Gawa Babigani, Kagan Dun Jiba, Minoa, Moorhead, Minnesota, Nukum, Inde, Chimigwich Gitchimanadu, Pekish, Minobin, Minobima, Ziwe, Weon. Sweet. Toodles. No.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi and hello, Paisley.
Hi, hello.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me babble and babble and babble.
Hey, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's babbling around. I was just talking about the book and losing my mind and not finding the links, and yeah, it's all good.
I'm so proud of you. Please receive that positivity because, we've been, I don't know, how long have you been doing this now? 2.5 years? Almost 3?
No, I've only been doing the show for just over 2 years. I started, almost 2.5, I guess. Yeah. Wow.
That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's been fantastic, and I've shared with you about my book ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But all hail that computer that I am being so adamantly apparently not in the want of learning the newest technology so I can just dictate my book, but I should get around to it. Maybe I should hire a ghostwriter. Ooh. So what do you want to talk about tonight?
There's a program, and I wrote it down somewhere that I'll have to send you the link for. From what I understand, it takes your audio, so like you can speak into your phone, and just leave an audio recording on your phone or your computer or wherever you leave audio recordings, and it will automatically transcribe it into print. And it's not a ghostwriter; it's just a software program or a website or some newfangled thingamajig. So
that is a kind of a cheat because I have a little digital recorder where I'll do that and I'll talk into my digital recorder. But the problem is that the new computer has to go through like 3 to 5 hours of training for my voice because my voice backup got destroyed in the attempt of transferring it to the new computer, and so I lost a 4 terabyte of storage.
Oh, that's disgusting. I'm sorry.
But, right? Yeah. But the VA just might pay for the retrieval of the information, and then I'll bring them all down. No.
Sounds good.
I have the magic data box.
Get your pamphlet out there for the world. Shadow Time.
Did you have a good full moon?
I did.
New moon?
I did. Just so you know, Shadow Time Writer says Google Docs will we'll do audio recording stuff.
Sweet.
All right. Look at that. I learned something. That's great. I like learning. No, I had a good new moon. My new moon intention was to get my book done, and I got it done. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It was an interesting process, and I have to say that even though I'm the publisher, I'm not paying my publisher enough.
The other end in my other ear. Quiet.
Is your hands-free not working? What? Anyways, so yeah, my new.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm sorry. I have a guest and my other device messed up on them, and I'm trying to put it back in phase for them. So
okay, cool.
that mute button was a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
But
the mute button's always a challenge.
That link, if you could send it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, we'll do. So, yeah. New Moon, my intention was to get the book done and out, and I have. So for now, as I was saying before I brought you on, is that it is fully available on Amazon in print or in Kindle format. And I will have copies available on my website. So if you want to buy one that has my John Hancock in it, or Jane Hancock, that is a possible doable thing as well. So yeah, and other new things showing up on the website. There'll be spell jars for a variety of things. I have some wall hangings, which the wall hangings kind of do a very good segue into why NeSe is gracing us with his presence. So the show tonight, I titled it, I gave it a fancy smancy title. Hi, Marie. So the fancy smancy title is Culture of Appropriation or Cultural Appropriation, because both seem to be happening, and one gets shouted at more than the other because most people don't realize that the culture of appropriation is entirely different. And my wall hangings really do resemble dream catchers in that they are woven threads and in a circular shape with beads and feathers and knots and rib bones and sticks and some other stuff. So yeah, they resemble dream catchers, but are they really dream catchers? So NeSe, let's talk about cultural appropriation. First off, the definition of cultural appropriation, or appropriation in general, is the action of taking something for one's own use, typically without the owner's permission. And there's a lot of that out in the world. And so dream catchers actually are a real hot topic or hot button topic when it comes to cultural appropriation. Because there's a fair number of people that feel that dream catchers have been used by multiple cultures around the world for many, many years. And others feel that no, dream catchers are specific to a singular tribe and should only be used by that tribe here in the U.S. NeSe, are you still there? Did I lose you? Hello, NeSe. No?
You know that... Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I coming through now, Paisley?
Yes. Hello? Yes, you're here.
Hello?
Yeah. Speak.
Well, that's weird. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes down to it, as I was taught being a Anishinaabe, all you have to do is proclaim that you're a Anishinaabe, and in that respect of you being the living, breathing entity that you are, I am minimally to tolerate what your practices are. If we are all in on this together, and the microcosm and the macrocosm are all intertwined, then is it really such a shameful, buzzword, tolerant thing for somebody else to try to put the same type of intentions in crafting what is called a medicine wheel or a medicine shield or something for the positivity of their existence? However, if you're trying to do that and then sell it and try to sell it as like handcrafted or authentic by a tribal entity, then I would have a little bit of a challenge with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But if you just say, hey, I make dream catchers, and someone's like, yeah, would you make me one? Then what that individual does with it, it's like a tool. Any kind of tool, you give a carpenter a tool, and he decides to master it or not. And in that mastering of the tool, what is the end result, positive or negative? So if it's not broken, don't fix it. If it's broken, see what you can do to retrieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically we're all here together, and this is one of the challenges about being Native American, because a lot of the rhetoric is that the so-called New Age movement, they're just kind of this whole appropriations of this, that, and the other thing. And the end result is what it is. Now, if that end result is positive, do we fault this person? This person is doing something positive for the universe, and they've taken a little bit of this, a little bit of that, kind of like cooking.
Mm-hmm.
You originally get the ingredients, you get the recipe, gives you the guideline, and then once you master the recipe, then you're like, hey, I'm going to put a little flavor on this.
Mm-hmm.
And you add a little extra of this, add a little extra of that, or you add something else in to get a little tartness into it, or add a little oomph to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it still the end result a negative thing?
That's a really good question. For instance, the dream catchers that I make, or that I have crafted, or I have a friend that's working on them with me as well. Some of them are kind of a dream catchery shape. I tend to like to use branches of trees, and I do my weaving in between the branches. So for me, it'd be like arachne or spider, and that deity's energy, because she was a weaver, an orb weaver, spider weaver, that kind of thing. And so the energy of arachne is the deity that I tend to focus at or think of when I look at a dream catcher. So my dream catchers are generally done in the different, with a branch rather than just in a circular shape. Now, my friend, when she makes them, hers tend to be more circular in shape, and she does some with more of the knots and some with more the macrame type, and some are a combination of both the macrame and the weaving. They all have leather bits to it. They all have beadwork. They all have feathers. So it's just a combination of all these different bits and pieces. But yeah, like I said, I come from a more spider direction. She comes from, well, I grew up in the 70s and I'm kind of a hippie chick. And so I do this macrame thing, and everybody likes to see sticks at them too. So I'm doing that also. But when we market them, we call them wall hangings. We don't come out and say, hey, yeah, these are dream catchers. Because neither of us are tribal in our background. Mine, I think I have like a dash of pepper somewhere in the background, but that's about it. And I don't know about her. So we really can't say yes. We have even a token amount of tribal heritage to us, other than like my tribal background is more Germanic than anything. So yeah, I don't know. And I think a lot of it, the cultural appropriation trend in recent years, is more of a buzzword or a trigger word than anything else. And just so you know, NeSe, we have about a minute and a half before break already.
Sweet. Well, one thing that I find really cool about your design of the dream catcher, that's kind of the same way I did. Traditionally, a dream catcher was used with like one like branch twined around itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to make mine with multiple, like the branch would go around and around and around and around,
Mm-hmm.
multiples of times. But the one thing that's really cool about it is when you decide to do your initiating design, one thing that people forget is that my people weren't stupid. They were very intelligent. And that dream catcher is also the Fibonacci sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But we can talk about more of that after the break.
Yep.
Please come back for more Paisley Wild.
Yes. So while we're at break, you guys can go check out ayalife.com. So it's www.ayalife.com. AYALIFE.com. It's a combination of ayahuasca, the unleaded version of ayahuasca, and high quality CBD to help support your immune system. Or you can also go to my website. That's www.paisleywild.com. And if we'll be right back.
Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be the spell forever.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Gotta love the trolls. Apparently, I'm doing something right. I'm getting trolls. Should I be excited about this? Hi, NeSe. How's it going? I don't know if you're back or not, but ready when you are. So, yes.
Well, what do they say?
Oh,
They say when you're usually over target, it's when you get the most flack, and it's difficult for a lot of people to let go of their own egos
mm-hmm.
and appreciate the differences that we all have between each other. And this was one of the biggest reasons, because I'm considered like 47% Anishinaabe,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of me is English, British to be specific, and a speckle of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I decide to live my existence is through the teachings of my ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
and I can put it down into one word, and that one word is respect. And it's too simple.
Word.
It's too simple for me to pass up. That if I treat everything with respect, and I don't all the time, especially myself, I give into that caribou coffee. Oh, that sugar. And hey, I know that there is nobody in this universe that's going to beat Paisley up more than Paisley.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I beat myself up. And this is where I gravitate to the teachings of my ancestors, because it has me recognize the cycles that are greater than me, like the rising sun and the setting moon and all of that. And when I pay attention to those cycles, I can utilize them as a measurement from the new moon to the new moon. If I could, this phase of the cycle, smile at everybody I meet, or the next cycle, hey, this cycle from new moon to new moon or full moon to full moon, I'm not going to eat sugar, and, it's just the choices we make, and it builds discipline techniques, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I gave up on the caribou coffee. That's what I was going to do for the full moon to the full moon, or excuse me, the new moon to the new moon. And then here yesterday, a dear friend of mine came over and brought me a coffee. And so I'm like, is this the universe saying, they say, or is it, I don't want to insult this person. They spent their hard-earned money to bring me this gift. So I looked at it as a positive thing by accepting it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. Very much.
Because if I look... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it very much is a positive thing. There's positivity in both the receiving and the giving. It's an exchange of energy, not just coffee goodwill. Coffee goodwill's a big deal.
Well, I'm actually this Sunday, I'm going to be on my third day without meat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big deal, because you've probably heard me talk about my bison burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I love bison burgers, and I like bison.
Mm-hmm.
And once in a while, my daughters, they'll do some chicken nuggets, and then I'll be like, I'll take one of those, but like I said, I thought I would take the opportunity to, a lot of it has to do with health also.
Yes.
And this is the other thing too, where in moderation, and I just wanted to clean out my digestive system. And so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do meat for this cycle. And it's been very good, but I'm looking forward to that moment I can have that bison burger because I'm going to do it.
Hey, it's a reward at that point. And it's also an obligation. You wouldn't want it to go to waste. You have to eat it. So I think I just lost NeSe real quick. Yep, NeSe, let me know when you're ready. Alan says, I once tried going vegan. On my third day without meat, I felt extremely weak, so I returned to eating meat. So probably, I know that, he knows that he probably did it wrong. So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Longbeard was vegetarian for a period of time, like years period of time. But from what I understand, it was bacon and sausage kind of did him in, and he you only say no to bacon and sausage for too long before you don't have a choice. You have to go back to it. Well, maybe you don't have to. All right, there's NeSe back. Hey, NeSe, you're back. But
well, that was bizarre. So I don't know what to blame that on, but that was some weirdness. All of a sudden, my phone just disengaged.
Solar
here we are again.
flares.
Are we talking too truthful? This is too simple. It can't be that simple. We want
Right.
to make it all complex.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of that, I think. The simple concepts, especially when they're extraordinarily truthful, are harder for people to swallow than a false, complicated concept, which I don't understand, but okay. Okay. Okay.
Well, to try to keep it in that simplification, if you step outside wherever you're at right now, that area that you are domiciling will dictate how you need to live your life in accordance to where you're at. And we've gotten so accustomed to being able to go hunting at the grocery store or going to Target or Walmart or whatever and get this, that, and the other thing. And every time we go into these different stores, we're like, oh, look at that with that bells and that whistle. And, ooh, maybe, yeah. And then we get beyond those needs, where we don't take the simplification and practice the alchemy of baking a cake or the alchemy of a new recipe or the alchemy of mixing some herbs for the betterment of your health regimen. It's that pill bottle. Where can we go to Walgreens to fill up this prescription? And don't get me wrong, I'm not super duper anti-medicine, but I would always press people to look at alternatives and give them a try. Minimally, at least give them a try. And this was one of the beautiful things about my ancestors, is that's what it was all about, was trying this, that, and the other thing. Where the settlers came and we said, hey, don't put that in your tea. That ain't going to be good for you. You're going to have diarrhea for 2 weeks. And some guy was like, well, whatever. What do they know? Sure enough, And so they pointed to all the different plants and the animals. Oh, if you take the bark of this will help you with headaches.
That's one thing you don't hear about much is the appropriation of healthy eating or natural medicine.
Right. How much money does the pharmaceutical companies owe the indigenous people for stealing all of their remedies?
Right.
I was reading, there's a great book out there called by Jack Rutherford. It's called Indian Givers. And it talks about all of the benefits that we gained because of the finding of the New World and what the indigenous people taught. And one of the things was like the pharmacopoeia increased 800%, I think it was. by the findings of all of the new medicines in the Americas.
Yeah, that's crazy. 'Cause there is a lot of that medicinal that people wouldn't know if they didn't talk to the indigenous people or the people who were there first, in any geographical location. For instance, in Australia, the bush people pretty much got a solid knowledge base as to what is medicinal in and what to touch and what not to touch in their region. The different tribes of America, same thing. Full and more comprehensive understanding of the plant life that grows around us. Not just the plant life, even. Like, for instance, here in the Pacific Northwest, we've got a couple different kinds of mosses that hang on trees and or grow on different trees. Some are very edible. They don't necessarily taste good, but they're edible, and they won't clean out your insides on a fast track out the back door. But some of them are more toxic, and if you don't know the difference between the two different, or the differences, I should say, because there's a couple different ones. Yeah, that's a good way to get poisoned. So if you really have to pay attention, you really truly do.
Well, and I'm not against, because wouldn't it be appropriations too if you look at all these different herbal stores that are bringing in different herbs from around the world? So like if it's indigenous to another land across the world, then you would think that the whole thing of those people use it for a specific purpose. So I mean, the technicality that people can call on appropriation is too easy, and the sad truth that I would think, if I look at it from my conspiracy world, sometimes I throw on my conspiracy glasses way more than I should, but appropriations and that buzzword is really good way of keeping people divided.
Mm-hmm.
So could that possibly be one of the biggest purposes of it?
Quite possibly. I mean, I think a lot of the in-your-face complaints about the appropriations culture right now is totally misleading, and it's a misdirection more than misleading. It's kind of the magician's sleight of hand. Here, look at my hand that's waving while you're not paying attention to the one that's, emptying out your wallet. And so we don't, I won't say we, because it's not necessarily we. It's like the masses, or the ones who aren't paying attention, don't necessarily see what's truly happening. That appropriation of real information and how is it being handled. Because dandelion, for instance, here, very, very good. Dandelion root, dandelion leaves, dandelion flower, all of that's really good for you. But for how long have we been told it's just nothing but a weed, and to get rid of it and kill it off? Here, have another poison to kill it off. Spray it, get rid of it, pull it. When there's so many benefits with the dandelion. But people used to grow it intentionally as a crop. But if you went somewhere else, like try to take dandelion seeds somewhere else, it's considered noxious in other countries, which is ridiculous. It's just,
I used to love using roasted dandelion roots because it would help me get off my love of coffee. When I would periodically do my coffee breaks, I would turn to roasted dandelion root. Has that nice kind of bitterness, that coffee has, and a good honey inside it.
mm-hmm.
Very, very good. And it's antioxidant.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in dandelion. I've been known to dry and
Yeah,
roast and
and
grind it and put it in my coffee grounds and leave it in the coffee container instead of and mix it about 1/3 dandelion and 2/3 coffee when I make a pot of coffee.
well, I joke with the girls because I don't put any chemicals on my yard for the last 16 years, and so we have dandelions in the spring, and I'm like, just go out there and pick all the leaves. Pick all the leaves, pack them up, put them in a bag, call your cousins on the res, and there'll be a bunch of people that'll be like, yeah, I'll take some dandelion root.
They really will too. Well, nowadays,
like, give me some swamp tea, give you some dandelion root.
yeah. But is that appropriation because it's a natural medicine, or is it a natural herb, natural plant, or has it been, I don't know, complicated overly much by not necessarily the pharmaceuticals, but that's true, but just commercialism in general.
Have you eaten wild rice? Then would that be considered appropriation?
Gosh darn.
Have you gone to Taco Bell? Is that appropriation?
I love wild rice, but yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Oh, you do like wild rice?
I love wild rice. Yes.
I'll send you some wild rice. I'm still waiting for that branch.
I haven't
Did
had
you have
one
a storm
fall.
lately?
We've had several storms, but I've not had a single branch fall from my oak tree since we've chatted, and we talked about that. Groot, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it happen.
Well, I have some.
But if the universe would allow it to happen.
Right? Now, we've had some very, very strong storms of late, and I'm kind of surprised that none of the branches from my oak tree have fallen. It's been kind of wild. Very wild. So, but yeah, Taco Bell, excellent example. Is that cultural appropriation? Well, no, not really. It's not really Mexican food. Tex-Mex maybe, but it's kind of stretching it. It's very Americanized Tex-Mex. And some of it, a frustrating thing, is people assume that Taco Bell is Mexican food. It's not at all. It is very much American food. Mexican food is not, no. And I can say that confidently because I've had real Mexican food. I've known a fair number of Hispanic folks, and they're fantastic chefs in the kitchen, and the food is so different. But it's just American food. But because it's Taco Bell, even that, it's just a taco that's the food inside of a pita, which is food that, or a flatbread, pita, whatever you want to call it. Different cultures around the world have had flatbreads and pitas. It's not just the people from Mexico. And the different proteins and the different spice combinations, that's a thing that just kind of happens. But again, it's very Americanized. The Chinese food that we eat here in the U.S., not really the same as true or as food that you might get from a street vendor or restaurant in China. It's a little different. But I don't hear a lot of arguments from people in, say, China getting mad about the cultural appropriation of McDonald's moving to China. Is it an So, question for you, NeSe. Do you think that the cultural appropriation trend is an American disease, or is it something, or the soapbox shouting, I should say, getting on your soapbox and shouting and being angry about it? Is that an American trend, do you think, in the U.S. specifically, or is that something that's more international?
would we be safe to say that appropriation parallels assimilation, depending on who's perpetrating the assimilation and for what purpose are they creating this? Because exactly, around the world they want to be like Americans, and we want to be like this, and they want to be like that, and so are we just appropriating from everybody? Because weren't we called America the great melting pot? I think I was raised on that ideology.
I was
that
too.
We were,
yeah.
A united peoples, the United States.
Yeah, the great melting pot of cultures and traditions and peoples from around the world, everybody wanting to come to America. And they didn't necessarily check their past and their own politics at the border, but they came to the U.S. of A. to become United States citizens and to learn about being an American citizen. Not necessarily how to be insert, your country of origin, blank space, American. Just like you wouldn't look at me and say I'm a German American or that I am an Irish American, although that's my cultural roots. Most people would look at me and say, oh, well, you're an American. It's like, yeah, that's what I am. Alan in the chat says that he owns a kimono, and when he wears it, he doesn't consider himself to be appropriating anything from Japan. He loves the Japanese, and his kimono is a very comfy garment. Yeah, kimonos are awesome. I have 3. I get it. Also has 2 fuzzy bathrobes and a pair of fuzzy slippers. So, it's comfortable to me. I remember it wasn't this past summer because everything was kind of up in the air and COVID related, but the summer before, I remember a story about how this girl was doing a report on, I think, the Japanese, I have to think. No, it wasn't. I don't know. It's been a while. But anyways, supposedly she had dressed up like a geisha, and she had done the research and had gotten a traditional garment and had done the research on the makeup and how to do the hair and everything else. And so she was doing it out of respect and as for a report or something like that at school. And she got in a lot of trouble because they were saying she was appropriating it. And people overseas were like, no, she did her research. She's not using this in a commercial fashion, and she did it out of respect, so that's not appropriation. So is it who defines the level of respect, I guess? Is it the person who's doing the thing, or is it the people observing, or is it the people where that cultural tradition originated?
Well, it's so funny because listening to that story, it's this person is trying to do a representation of another culture. So she's doing it in a learning manner, but then it goes back to, what kind of story can we make out of this? How big can the story get if we put it in the media? Is this news? Is this newsworthy? Like, 2 people got upset because of this, that, and the other thing. 20 people got upset, or somebody got a hold of the same or the right entity to be like, yeah, let's all do this culture, cancel abracadabra. Maybe, whatever they said doesn't sit well for me, and there has to be some kind of action for the reaction that I'm having. Does it happen? Where can just a simple apology, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you in no manner, can we get past this?
Exactly. So we're about 30 seconds to break. And then we'll do singing bowl on the way back.
Singing bowl, sing me a song. Any bowl full of mushkiki is good for me.
Yeah,
Good for you. Cuckoo.
Love the singing bowl. Where was I before I had a singing bowl? It was a quiet, simple life. So yeah, do the singing bowl when we come back, and then
You were a humming bowl?
yeah, no, I was an empty cereal bowl.
Humming bowl. Count Chocula.
Right? Exactly. No, Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms. Yeah, our Lucky Charms appropriation. Anyways, we'll talk about more appropriation when we come back from the break. NeSe is the guest tonight, and we'll be right back. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild. We're adventuring. We're just adventuring into the spaces between. Now with some singing bowl. Yay, bowl. I suppose one of these nights I need to bust out the other bowls and bring them in here. So I only have 7 more. All different pitched. Let's see. So, NeSe, you're still in the air, so whenever you want to come back. So tonight we're talking about cultural appropriation and stuff. Personally, I think it's a way of controlling us. I don't really think that most of the appropriation is truly appropriation. Now, is there some? Yes, there is some. There is some foundation to that argument. Is there
It's
much?
always that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's always that perspective of where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Going back a little bit to your singing bowl. I remember one time I dug into the whole healing through harmonics, and actually I think that was the name of the book, Healing Through Harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about over the ages of how they use musical instruments, whether they create a drum beat, a tone, a whistle, a bell, for healing techniques. And it's really interesting when you look at what happens on such a deep level, just from listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, an example is, here we are in April upon the precipice of Prince's anniversary, and lo and behold, sometimes it snows in April. And we've had some snow here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have one more little speckle of snow, and I think it'll be gone for the year.
On that note, we've had not near enough snow this year. We're about a third of what we normally have. And today, we actually had burn warnings that were issued by the county saying, hey, be careful if you're going to burn. Just there's some concern that we're going to dry out really fast and it's going to be dry. Depends on what the spring is like, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Kind of hope for a cool summer like we had last year, but as far as the fires go, but for my garden and growing some stuff to put in the old pantry, yeah, I kind of want it to be warmer. So yeah, it's hard. It's a dichotomy.
Well, if you had the ability to manipulate the weather,
mm-hmm.
and in the event of a drought or something, would you take that opportunity to manipulate the fields and call the rain?
It would depend on the ramifications. So on the one hand, yes, I would want it to rain on me. On the other hand, the weather is all interconnected, and if making it rain on me would cause additional drought or dangerous fires somewhere else, it's not worth the trade-off.
Well, that's one thing that I was talked about in that whole manipulation of fields, whether it be for this, that, or the other thing. For example, calling it rain. You hear about the Native Americans and the rain dance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're calling the rain to you, where are you pulling it from? And if you're pushing it away from you, where are you pushing it to?
Yes.
If the universe is creating its own balance on its own accord, then who are we to be part of that whole manipulation of the fields?
Mm-hmm.
But again, it comes down to that individual occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
Because what if that whole purpose of you manipulating the storm was the whole purpose of you manipulating the storm?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just fulfilling what you were supposed to do in the whole design kit and caboodle of it all?
Yeah, the what ifs.
The design plan?
When people around me start talking about messing with the weather with magic with magic and intent and working more with the weather gods, it's like, be careful what you're dabbling in, because it's kind of like the cartoon snowball. It's kind of slow to get started at the top, but once that momentum gets going, you don't know where it's going to stop. So it's And the unintended consequences. You got to pay attention to them. And look at your solution from multiple directions to make sure it's the right solution for the many, not just for you. I guess I just try not to be that selfish.
Well, this is the beautiful thing about, where people come together in groups, whether you want to call that groups the blue group, the red group, a coven, the Wappa Wappas, or this, that, or the other thing. Whatever the group decides to label themselves, that's the label. Mm-hmm. And if this group can come together and work together for the betterment of the group, then so be it. Mm-hmm. So is this group called, the Baha'i faith, or is it called Wicca, or is it called witchcraft, or is it called, Christianity? What is the result of the action that the individual is creating? Is this group creating that positivity for all? Or do they get caught up in that dogma or their ego where it's like, oh, you look different than I do, or you practice things different than I do, or what was it, Napoleon? I think Napoleon made a comment about religious wars are just people fighting over their own creativity.
That sounds like something he would say. So it wouldn't surprise me. Oh, drama. I have a cat on my desk, so if there's extra noise, I'm sorry, guys.
Ta-ta-ta, putty cat.
Yeah, pretty much. So Alan in the chat said that he smudged yesterday, and he does smudging other times, but he had a First Nation elder teach him the process. And if the elder who taught him thought that a white guy doing the smudging was appropriation, then the elder wouldn't have taught him to begin with. I think there's some truth to that. Now, for me, I do energy cleansing. I don't do smudging because I don't have that teaching. So for me, if I were to say, ooh, I smudge every day, or I smudge or whatever, without having an understanding or the appropriate training for the concept, that to me would be more of an appropriation than using sage smoke to clean my space. It's cleansing. Does that make sense?
Well, then how about we can go like this? Because, well, first of all, we'd have to constitute what's an elder. I have survived 54 winters. Mm-hmm. So I do have some speckle of gray in my hair and in my braids. So would I be labeled an elder? Well, I am an Anishinaabe. I am a pipe carrier. I have a eagle bone whistle presented to me by the reservation veterans group. Mm-hmm. So I follow rituals and I smudge. Mm-hmm. If we look at smudge in a scientifical, is that a word? Scientifical. It is tonight. So if we look at it in a scientific mannerism, when you burn sage or a lot of plants and herbs, it creates smoke. When this smoke is going around your home, when people are coughing and people are producing spittle and all of these microscopic particulates that are wet, when they connect with the dry smoke, it drops to your floor. Mm-hmm. And then you vacuum it up or sweep it up, Yes. So it's not hanging up in the air, which is good in a preventative of disease or disease. So in the efforts, this is one of the things we used to do during the whole choose the Gesundheit apparatus that's happening. We would, people would come over. It's like, all right, burn the sage. you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel a calling to burning sage, all I ask is that you do it in a respectful mannerism. That if you're picking the sage by hand, that you give an offering, whether of tobacco or of something, you know, you're the one who decides on it. And when you smudge it in according to what resonates within your core. You know, because one thing that I was taught as a Anishinaabe, you're given the guidelines. You're given kind of the basic structure of how the ritual is. Mm-hmm. And you have to fine-tune that ritual, that ceremony, because it's your universe. You know, so if you feel it appropriate in the event of whatever, that smudging is needed, by all means, do it. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to make it a ritual, then maintain the way you decide your ritual is going to be. Some people will go around their home counterclockwise. Some people go around their home clockwise. Some people will go and open up all of the windows and doors. And as they go around one way or the other, they'll shut the doors behind them. You know, there's many different interpretations on these rituals and ceremonies. So if you're doing it in a positive mannerism, then I would feel comfortable saying, yeah, go ahead. You know, because we lock the door on the house. Sometimes we lock the door in our cars, you know. So that's a means of protection. We shut the windows. So if burning sage, you know, everything's a tool. We utilize these tools to fabricate our outcome, to cast our spell, to create the end result. Mm-hmm. And if we put the intentions in it, we put the focus in on it, especially if it's positive and for one's needs, I believe that the fulfillment of the accomplishment is there, that it's going to occur. Mm-hmm. You know, but we have to put in the whole factor that there's other people out there. So if you're trying these intentions to do something this way, and somebody doesn't care for that, and they're going to push against you, there's going to be resistance. You know, there's going to be the whole push and pull, the yin and yang, the positive, negative, the universe finding balance. Mm-hmm. You know, so sometimes our intentions are going to be sweet, but other times our intentions just might catch us with our pants down. Because what's the cliche? The road to hell is paved with.
Oh, yes. That one is. I've seen it. I've not walked it, but I've seen it. Let's see. So, on that note, or moving in a different direction from that note, a lot of the sports teams in our country have different names. Some are badgers or bears or tigers. And I was talking to my dad about this here a couple weeks back, and he's kind of one of those Christian conservative types. And his feeling has always been that you picked your mascot for your athletic team because you wanted something that was kind of intimidating and scary and evoked strong feelings and had strong energy. So that's why chiefs or you know, Indians or whatever was often associated with the tribes, is because, or with the as a mascot for the different sports events and stuff, is because they very much illustrated strength. Not sure why the demon deacons are a thing, but okay, that'd be scary too, I guess. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel that's appropriation to name your sports team after a different culture?
When I first moved up here to the area, I knew a little bit about the sports team and the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Redskins and all of that stuff. And I moved up here, and north of us, about an hour and 15 minutes, we have the UND, and they're the Fighting Sioux.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be this battle between the NDSU, the North Dakota State University, and UND, University of North Dakota. And they used to have this battle for the nickel, the buffalo head nickel.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the mascot issue came up, and we had some guest presenters come down to talk to us, the Native American Student Alliance. And they brought these T-shirts that the local bars were printing up. And one of the T-shirts was like, let's buck the bison. And it had a Native American behind a bison, intercoursing the bison from behind.
Oh my.
And then there was another one that said, let's put the Sioux in their place. And it had a indigenous caricature on its knees in front of a bison performing fellatio.
Okay.
You know, and they brought it up, and these are the local bars, and they're having these printed and passing it around, and you know, the whole caricature
Mm-hmm.
of the whole Sioux. And even that word in itself, the word Sioux came from an Anishinaabe word. But regardless, would you want your child of Native American heritage to see such a T-shirt?
I wouldn't want my child
You know,
to
and that
see
was
that T-shirt. Period.
and you know, yeah, you know, and then that is when it really hit me, because before I was like, well, you know, that's the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota peoples. That's their argument in that fight. And then when I saw those T-shirts, you know, I was just like, okay, this hits a lot harder than I, you know. So I've gone to a couple protests, and I've, you know, the mascot of an indigenous people, or the mascot of any people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how is it represented? So I'm not a big fan of it, you know, but I'm not a big fan of organized sports at all. You know, just, well, don't get me going about all the money that organized sports. You know, and I'm not against being athletic and moving your body and joining local sports and stuff like that. But when it gets into the $1 billion businesses of sports, then I can't really say I'm much of a fan.
Yeah. High school level, college level, totally get it. Professional level, man, that's a lot of dollars. They're all going somewhere, and they're coming from people that often don't have a lot of dollars to begin with. Yeah, on stuff like that, I get where you're coming from. The inappropriateness of those shirts, for me, the sexualization or sexualized nature of those, that would have been my beef. I wouldn't have wanted my kids to wear those or be around them or see them, regardless of whom was being depicted within. My high school mascot was a cardinal. Not really scary or anything like that, but you know, we had a really good football team. But if I had seen something illustrated in that same kind of fashion, yeah, I would have been upset about it. As a parent, I would have been upset about it, even if it was just a bird. There's
and to I'm sorry.
As you say, there's marketing, and then there's taking things to an extreme that is highly inappropriate, and it seems like we have a lot of that inappropriate marketing that's happening, and it's forcing a lot of those extremes, or giving permission for a lot of those extremes.
That almighty dollar, that crave, that desire to get it is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what some people will, the lengths that people go to. But then the one challenge, you know, being a hippie at Christ, you know, the college I went to, their mascot was the dragon. And when we fought the Wildcats, we had the dragon smoking a big rolled up thing with a cat sticking out of the end of it. So we said, smoke the cat. So I don't know. Was that negative?
Yeah. Well, nowadays you can't say smoke anything because if it's not cigarettes, it's potential firearms, and the firearms are an entirely different topic for an entirely different show because that'll take a lot of time because that's, complicated. Very complicated. There's other things that show up in our culture that people get bent out of shape on. Not just the sports teams and their depiction of different cultures, which I think it's fine for people to use bears or tigers or lions to depict a sports team. I don't know that any specific group should be appropriate as far as, I don't think that Demon Deacons is any more right than Cleveland Indians. It's, again, that potential wrong, potential bad, poor thought process in marketing because of the almighty dollar. But there's other things that have been showing up, like the council culture. You mentioned that earlier. That showed up a lot in the last year with the riots and everything that happened around our country, and tearing down of different statues that were historical in nature but were apparently not worthy of being kept, so they got torn down. It's an interesting trend. It makes me wonder what's the next thing that they're going to take away. Do you think?
Well, this is what I find. I find it so funny about the statues being torn. Well, I can't say funny. I don't think it was funny at all. I think what could have possibly been a solution is if they had on one side of the statue the accomplishments, and on the other side of the statue all the crap that they did, the positive and the negative. Let the people decide. That'd be the simplest thing. But if you were to research what George Washington did in the causation of the genocide of not only my ancestry, specifically the Anishinaabe, because look at where Virginia was totally Anishinaabe territory. And so if they're tearing down these other statues for what they did to hold back African or American Africans, then all of those presidents on Mount Rushmore, I think Mount Rushmore is a direct slap in the face to the indigenous people, the Paleo Americans, because all of those presidents on that mountainside are the tribute. They all tributed to the genocide in epic proportions in their history of presidency.
Yes.
But you won't say, hey, go rip down Mount Rushmore. Maybe not in public.
I've been waiting for that one, actually. I've been waiting to see that sign-up sheet pass around on Facebook. because Facebook is where everything happens. Anyways, we are at our last break already. It's been a fast night. Are you doing okay?
I'm not as quick on the mute button as I was earlier, but it's weird on the phone doing the mute button, whereas on Skype, we're gonna have to connect on Skype because I tried to go through my contacts and I couldn't find you.
Likewise.
So I guess I called it in last time also.
We'll be right back.
Lord, within the sun.
Come back after the break.
We will, so mote it be the spell forever done. Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Tonight we've been talking with NeSe about the cultural appropriation movement and how it's impacted things, and sometimes how it is not so much of cultural appropriation, but the culture of appropriation. It seems like, and NeSe, you can chime in whenever. It seems like we have a lot of things happening in the name of cultural appropriation that are not really appropriation, but the argument being used for the war on appropriation is made up, or at least started, or has a foundation in actual cultural appropriation. Before break, we were talking about sports teams using Native American connotation and names, and some of the directions that kind of thing has gone in the past, and how it's negatively impacted the first people or first tribe culture. Also, some of the other statues that have been torn down in the last year, and other ways we could have, or that could have been handled, which honestly it could have been handled a little differently, a lot differently, maybe less blood and mayhem. But it's frustrating because a lot of the true appropriation doesn't seem to get addressed. It's given a token lip service and then ignored because it's not as flashy, maybe. It's not as attention grabbing, perhaps. Is it still there? Yeah, it absolutely is. I think we are making a trend, a slow trend, and moving away from sports teams named after the First Nations, which I think is good. I think they could have gone about it in a different way. The culture of the appropriation movement, rather than, they should have just moved forward and did it, rather than the teams and the team owners and such dragging their feet and like, oh no, and then yes, and then no, and then yes. It seems like they're swayed more by public opinion and the dollar rather than what's right. Unfortunately, again, the dollar has more weight than right. It's not. What is the saying? How does it go? Something makes right. It's, my brain's not firing. Basically, because money can be thrown at it, money becomes the reason rather than that something is the right thing to do. And because of that, cultural appropriation has become a flashpoint, or a flashing neon sign that people, hang over something that they don't necessarily understand, or only understand the headlines around it because that's all they've read. They haven't read any of the research or really truly have an understanding of the concept. So I'm Pagan, and I do pagan things. I have a singing bowl. Actually, I have 8 singing bowls. Is it cultural appropriation to have a singing bowl? Well, I don't know. These were imported from Tibet. I know which village they were made in. The person who bought them, or is the buyer for the store that I purchased them, has a personal relationship with the village who made the bowls and provides them for export to be sold in the U.S. So I know the history of the bowls. I know how they were made and understand, and I use them in a healing way. So is it appropriation or is it sound healing? Personally, I think it's sound healing because I'm using it in not in a traditional way because it's not my tradition, but in a way that is respectful, I think, of the culture from which it originated. Same with a lot of the stuff that's associated with paganism. There's been quite a few people who come out or have come out and said that, well, since you are not of this cultural background, you can't do X, Y, and Z. For some, they'll say, well, it's a closed practice. Like, well, do you really know what a closed practice is and what that really means when it's being applied to something? I've heard people talk about how tarot cards are a closed practice, or runes are a closed practice, or the Ogham divination sticks are closed practice. I've heard that about a pendulum also, which, okay, sure. And it's like they have a bare minimum of understanding when it comes to what the actual practice is, and so they just label it as closed. That's what I think. When it comes to paganism, it's I don't know. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I've mentioned this on the show in the past. It's really hard sometimes to do research because you do have to wade through so much misinformation to find sometimes the grains of actual truth. And it's just hard because for a lot of things, like wand, for instance, if you're trying to research wands and what they're used for, or the different wood types, or hey, is there a meaning to the shapes or anything like that, you get a lot of information from World of Warcraft or Magic the Gathering or Harry Potter or Charmed. And did they have to do their research before all of that stuff was marketed out? Yeah, they did, but that's not what I'm looking for. And so sometimes it is hard to find the information, especially if the internet is your only resource. And for a lot of people, the internet really is their only source of information. And it's frustrating.
Paisley, I have a official wand from Olivery's. Me and my daughters, we all, one year they had a Harry Potter birthday party, and so we had everybody dress up like wizards and whatnot, and we made magic wands and cast spells, but they were really little donuts of wood, and they would flick their wrist, and they would send a little donut of wood into the cut hole on the cardboard, and they were so happy because they could cast their spells and got points, and in the end scarfed down on a bunch of cake and candy. But we have our wands, but we have our tools.
Exactly. And you've said
Focus.
that several times tonight. You've talked about how all of these things are tools. And a lot of it, and I really agree, is that the tool is a tool, and it's the intention and the use behind the tool. I mean, you can use a screwdriver to screw a screw into the wall or whatever, or to assemble something, or you can use it to scrape the paint off of somebody's car. So, it all depends on what are you going to use the tool for, I think is ultimately what it boils down to.
And we're not talking about the alcoholic beverage called a screwdriver. That would have to be your own discernment if you're using it for a good reason or a negative reason. Poisoning yourself, alcohol, the urine of the devil.
Right? Well, I don't know if I've ever had a screwdriver strong enough to peel the paint off a car, but I'm sure they're out there.
I can't confirm or deny back in the day in the military where I was taught very well how to consume alcoholic beverages. That I was actually one of those oddities where I could consume a lot of alcoholic beverages and not have it affect me. But it's been over 30 years since I've had alcohol. Just when I got so involved with my Native upbringing, I just couldn't do it anymore in good faith after knowing what it's done to my ancestry. But to each his own.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. I don't know how many people I know that really enjoy a nice, good, intoxicated entity.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about your ancestry and the misuse of alcohol when it comes to the government, just people in general providing it, and it was another tool, unfortunately, of control. And it's been used as a tool of control for a while. And it saddens me that it was, something that could have been a good trade good was used in other ways. Yes, in other ways. Because that's not the way it was supposed to be.
One thing I wanted to share, we're talking about intentions.
Yes.
There's always an anomaly to the rule. So the road to hell is paved with good intentions. My grandmother, when she died, shortly after she died, my mother came over, and all of a sudden pointed out to me that in the same locations of my body, my grandmother had sores, ulcerations, open skin. Some people call them bed sores. And I had them in the same locale as my grandmother. And this happened within a month after her funeral. And what I did at her funeral, because one of the practices of my people is when somebody close to them died, they'll cut off a bunch of their hair. And I cut off about 1.5 feet of my braid, and nobody did a fire. Usually what we do when our people die, we light a fire and we keep it burning for 4 days near the body. And they didn't have this for my grandmother. And so I just told my daughter, throw it in Grandma's grave when they buried her. And so then, lo and behold, within a month, my health was going down rapidly. We talked to some elders, shared with what we did. We tried some ritual ceremonies. It wasn't working well, kept progressing poorly, enough to the point of where my brother came from Germany to come visit me because we thought it was going to get really severe.
Oh, wow.
And then we talked to one elder, and they're like, yeah, you offered your body to the dead. And we're like, what do we do? And they're like, get the braid. So we had to go to my grandma's grave and dig it up.
Oh my goodness.
In the winter, in the end of February. And everything and anything that could happen was happening. They go to leave. It was foggy. It was a super foggy winter day. So it took them like almost 2.5 hours to get to the reservation when it usually takes about 1 hour and 10 minutes. They get there and meet the guy that's supposed to come to the grave with the backhoe. The backhoe pulls out of the garage and dies. And they called me up and they're like, hey, we got this fog. I'm like, press through it. It'll be okay. They called me up about the backhoe. They're like, hey, this equipment just died. We still got picks, shovels, axes. We can dig it by hand. And I said, move forward, things will work out. So a guy who just happened to be on vacation and worked in the same department and was driving by, saw the people outside by the backhoe. He pulls up and he's like, hey, what's going on? And the other guy says, oh, yeah, this piece broke on it, and we can't fix it because we don't have a piece. We'll have to order it in and get it on Monday. And then the guy said, last week I was in the old shed, and on the right side, second shelf up at eye level, there's that piece that they needed. And this was just a week prior. So they run and go get the piece, slap the piece in. They go to bring it to where my grandma's grave is, and it's a backhoe. And they go to dig it out. They scoop out the third time the backhoe scoop comes out. They're like, wait, hold it. And there on the teeth of the backhoe was my braid.
Oh, wow.
And my mom went out there, reached out, grabbed it. We washed it, did some ceremony, we burnt it, and literally within a month my health flip-flopped, and it was a sweet recovery. And I got to do maggot therapy.
You had to do what?
Maggot therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Where I had these ulcers. I talked the VA into doing maggot therapy. And it was the coolest, most bizarre experience I've had. Where you can feel these little maggots squirming inside you as they're eating all the dead flesh. But it heals really quick. It was really cool.
You're such a boy, NeSe. Ew.
Maybe that's why my ex-partner is my ex-partner, because I definitely put her through a really test of dealing with my world.
Well, that is definitely one that I've not experienced. So.
But I would do it all again. Everything, all the pain and suffering, I would do it all again to be here at this precious moment with you.
Ooh, look at you.
It's been so worth it.
You're good there, NeSe. You're good. Well, my dear, it is about 8 minutes till. We've got about 8 minutes. Is there anything else you want to talk about when it comes to cultural appropriation or the things?
Oh, geez, where do we go? You know, as we've talked about it from the beginning, we're all here together. Mm-hmm. We're all experiencing this miraculous perfection of unique individualism. And as we're going through this journey, what we call the Bimad, the Z way, it's the good path, the path that is appropriate for you. Mm-hmm. And only you can make that decision. And if you need support, reach out to others, because we're always trying to find something. And in my experience, we find things together a lot easier than when we're on our own. And mm-hmm. so take the opportunity to share, hey, these are my dreams, these are my aspirations, my goals. Can we help each other? Bake a pie and bring it over to a friend and give them a pie. Go visit somebody and just spend some time with them and put your phone down and ignore your phone and be there in the presence of that other miracle. Mm-hmm. Share the giggles, share this reality, and move forward for the positivity. Try not to get caught up in the negativity. It's too easy in today's universe to find the negativity. Mm-hmm. Just look at the TV, constantly just shoved in our face, So how can we transmute that negativity into positivity, or minimally neutralize it for the betterment of all of us? If it's going to another person of a different culture and say, hey, can you share with me your ideologies? If it means going and finding a Torah and reading the Torah or the Vedas or the Quran, or, mm-hmm. do what you feel is necessary to help you move forward in a positive manner in this existence. And if you need my assistance, reach out, get a hold of me. I'm not that difficult to contact, and I'm always willing to assist somebody if they need it. Because if I need to balance out my negativity of the past, then having you giggle, helping somebody, isn't that helping balance it?
Mm-hmm.
So find the balance, create the balance, and share the giggles minimally.
Yes, at the very bare minimum. Share the giggles. And on that note, though, yeah, if you guys do, listeners, have questions or concerns or are dealing with something that is bigger than you, please don't be afraid to reach out. It's wildpaisley@gmail.com. WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. Or you can reach me through the website. That's PaisleyWild.com. I do know people. I can probably put you in touch with someone nowadays. If NeSe is not someone that can help you, which NeSe probably knows other people, I do know the paranormal portal people. Brent and Don often have access to other resources. So with a wave of the computer mouse, odds are pretty good we can find someone who can reach out to you, at least within hollering distance, without necessarily, driving across multiple time zones to reach some help or get some help. So yeah, if you've got a question, if you've got a problem, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd rather hear it from you directly and see what I can do to help than hear about it third hand because you didn't get the help when you needed it. That's part of the reason why I tell you to get the therapy and do the shadow work, and don't forget to journal, and got a few ands. And tune in tomorrow night.
If you if you check out the fake book, you can find me on NeSe, the letter N, Truth Frequency, NESD.
Okay. So
placating to my ego. Thank you.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. We all have one. Some just holler a little louder than others, but no, we all have an ego. So that's all good. So
I like the expression, never confuse the fact that I know I'm a miracle with my ego.
I like it. That's awesome. Well, NeSe, my dear, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate your thoughts and your opinions when it comes to the cultural appropriation stuff. And we covered a lot of different topics, so thank you. And I'm going to let you get off of here so that you can get some rest because I know it's kind of past your bedtime a little bit.
It's always enjoyable to be up with you, Paisley, and thank you for the opportunity. I love you all in the chat. Chi Miigwich, Ape Gish, Bima Ziwe Rian. Toodles.
All right. Thanks, NeSe. Have a good evening. Or morning. Bye. So, yeah, cultural appropriation. We see it everywhere. It's all over the place. I won't say take it with a grain of salt because it's actually kind of a bigger issue than what a lot of people give it credit for. So someone's screaming cultural appropriation at you. Do your own research. Don't take Facebook's lack of journalistic integrity as if its weight is in gold. Do your own research. Use your critical thinking. Flash says it's not been supported, but you know what? We need to have it. So, I know they're talking about something else entirely, but that was an appropriate statement there. Critical thinking. It's important. Use it. It's kind of like a tool. If you don't use it, you forget you have it, and then it gets rusty, and then when you go to use it, it doesn't work. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, I don't know what the show's about. It'll be a surprise. I'm really glad NeSe was on tonight because I was still wrapped up in my book. So yeah, check out the book, The Wild Pagan, A to Z, and it's a beginner book. I think it's a good. I like it. I had fun making the art and everything. Someday I'll learn how to actually draw and paint rather than graphic arts. Maybe. Copious free time, right? So thank you all for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. And if you do have questions, by all means, give me a shout. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. And I will talk to you tomorrow, right here at 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Stay tuned for Duke, I think. And thanks all. Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And I'll see you next time. Because I love you.
I, O Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.